In this short video, I'm going to go over 3 simple steps to improve your gut health that you may not have considered. And the beauty of these 3 steps is that they are easy, they're accessible, and they are practically free. And not only that, each of these is supported with good science. I'm Scott Resnick, a medical doctor, making these videos to give you guys the tools that you need to turn around all aspects of your health without using drugs. And today we're talking about 3 simple steps to improve your gut health. Now, as you know, the gut has been compared to our second brain, and there are researchers who have estimated that when you add up all of the neurological tissue along our gut, it rivals that which is found in our brain and our spinal cord. So clearly there's an intimate association between our gut and our brain. And there's been so much research recently that has shown that there are bacteria and processes in the gut that make our neurotransmitters. Neurotransmitters like GABA, our most calming neurotransmitter, and serotonin, the neurotransmitter that makes us think that everything is cool in the world, are made in the gut. What I want to refer to is something known as the cephalogastric reflex. Cephalo meaning cephalic or brain, gastro meaning, well, obviously gastric. And what happens is, and this was shown by Pavlov's dogs who salivated when they heard the ringing of a bell before a meal, is that we, like the dogs, when we anticipate the consumption of a meal, we begin to gear up our digestive enzymes. We begin to make more gastric acid. And as you know, the gastric acid is so important for not only protecting us from microbial species that live in the environment, but also activating important processes to begin the breakdown of proteins and to help to remove minerals like magnesium and zinc from the salts in which they enter our body. The way that you can begin to improve your cephalogastric reflex is simply to slow down. Take a moment to think about your meals. Take a moment to prepare your food in your kitchen. I can assure you that driving in your car into a McDonald's drive-up window is not activating your cephalogastric reflex. But there's even more, because we know that as we create a certain amount of ceremony around eating, this similarly drives this reflex to help our digestive processes. You can do some simple things like occasionally light a candle at the dinner table. Use cloth napkins. Heck, it's sometimes fun to go down to the local reuse-it store and shop around and see what you can pick up for $1. The next important step towards improving our gut health that can be started tonight is to simply chew your food. So many of us are in a rush when we're eating that we gobble down whatever it is, and the consumption of simple carbohydrates, which practically dissolve in our mouth, make it that much more easy to give our bodies a big load of carbohydrates. But the problem is that when we're consuming foods like fats and proteins, we typically don't chew enough. Chewing is an essential part of our digestive process. What this does is it helps to break down, say, a piece of meat into smaller particles that our digestive enzymes can then begin to work on. It simply increases the surface area of the foods that we are working to consume. And what this does is it helps to fully digest your proteins into smaller groups of amino acids, because we know that if we can break down our proteins into little clumps of like 3 or 4 or 5 amino acids, this is recognized as a food, a macronutrient by our immune system, and allowed to pass into our body. But here's what's so important, is that when we don't fully break down our proteins as they move along our digestive tract, let's just say that there's a collection of 15 or 20 or 40 or 100 amino acids that haven't been broken down well, what happens is we begin to develop something known as molecular mimicry. And what this is it's almost an internal confusion with our immune system between an environmental protein and something that our immune system has been keyed up to be considered as a dangerous stranger. As I said, our immune system recognizes small collections of amino acids, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But when we start developing larger protein chains that make it into our digestive system, this increases the possibility that this protein could be confused by your immune system with an earlier viral or bacterial or parasitic infection that you've had in the past. And the third and probably the most important of these 3 interventions is to include more fiber in your diet. And so typically the diets of a lot of North American inhabitants includes a lot of protein and a lot of fat. And don't get me wrong, wrong. These are important foods to be consuming. But we also need to balance that with the right amount of fiber. And as you guys know, we can't digest fiber and use it for energy like a horse or a sheep or a cow. But what we can do is consume the fiber, at which point different bacteria that live along our digestive tract, namely those in the bifidobacteria category, can break down this fiber into what's known as short-chain fatty acids. And these short-chain fatty acids are like manna to our immune system. When we develop a short-chain fatty acid with a 4-carbon backbone known as butyric acid, this is a collection of carbon atoms that actually tells our immune system to become suppressed. It allows our immune system to be in a state of relaxed tolerance and not in a hypervigilant state, which is the cause of autoimmunity. Now, I've made some videos about yours truly consuming fiber, and I will link that at the end of this video. So if you want to see how I use my fiber on a daily basis, you can watch this video. It's short, but I've personally used fiber in my diet every day for about the last 20 years. Now, don't get me wrong. I also try to include a good amount of vegetable matter in my diet. And these are all the colored vegetables that not only contain fiber, but they also contain a lot of the important phytonutrients to help to guide so many different processes along our gut. So there you have it. There are 3 simple interventions that you can begin today that are scientifically shown to improve the health of our gut. It's improving a cognitive state and driving the cephalogastric reflex. It is maintaining good fiber intake. And lastly, chewing. These things collectively are going to help your body do better and to improve the health of your gut. Now, if you guys want to know where you stand along the spectrum of wellness from a functional perspective, I'd encourage you to go to the description, click on a link that I have there that will bring you to my functional health assessment. This is a simple at-home assessment, making some really easy measurements with tools that you have available in your house, like a measuring tape and a scale, that are going to give you some really insightful insight into your overall state of health. And as always, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys in another video. Take care of that gut and be well.